All right, welcome back. This time we are rolling through January and February of 2018. As you can see, more progress was done using the metal studs, and the structure for the horizontal level was put in. Basically, a spine was put and tied to the wall, which provided a very good rigidity to the whole um, setup. And you can see the benchmark is around 18 inches deep here, and behind me where the yard was supposed to be, that was 22 inches. You can see that that's on the far wall over there. And as you can see, we've put uprights now. These are Rubbermaid shelf uprights that were supposed to host various uh, depth of shelf brackets, and the idea was that you would modulate both the height and the depth of the bench for creating various scenic features. You also see that there is a hardboard put in place. We've opted to use hardboard rather than drywall because it was less messier and it still provided enough rigidity to hold the metal studs in place. You also see that the aisles are fairly wide. It's 3 feet on both ends, which provides enough room for movement and just makes it more comfortable to work with, especially if you have a multi-deck layout like this one would have been. And now we're going to move to the next month. Basically, this was end of January, and now we're moving to beginning of February, and the peninsula blob is finished. Interesting to note is that the post at the end of the blob was cut on the angle so that it could receive five Rubbermaid uprights, and these uprights would have been uh, basically creating a semicircle of brackets, and it would have held the other levels uh, in place. You also see that there is more materials on the floor, and you'll see that at the very end that it was used and how it ended up being. And now here we've put a hardboard all the way to the end of the peninsula. We've used a wood filler compound rather than drywall compound, as I thought that maybe that was a better idea, and it still worked out well. On the far wall, you also see that there are some brackets now in place. That was just for testing to see what the benchwork would look like. And now you can see the peninsula with those brackets I mentioned, creating the semicircle, and that looked pretty good. In retrospect, now seeing this footage again, I feel that it was a good direction to take, and for anyone thinking of doing this, it was something worthwhile considering. And now we're doing a real full layout tour. As you can see, we're coming down the stairs, and the first thing you would see would have been this long stretch of staging, basically. We were thinking to actually seating this area as well. So this would have been one part of the railroad or one end, and that's about 15 feet long. So you would have had very nice and long trains there. You also see that all the backdrops were painted blue and all the uprights were put in place. We've just used some masking tape to close the holes and paint over the masking tape. So really when you insert the bracket, you would only make a hole just for that bracket, and the rest of it would have been still hidden. And here you see the whole look of or the appearance of the aisles. I mean, it looked very nice and spacious. Come to think of it, perhaps this much bench work on the staging was too much, but at the time I thought, let's just fill it up because you can't go back afterwards. And here you can see the main peninsula blob, and I think that was 26, 27, maybe even 28 inches wide. And now we're going towards the other uh, alcove. This bench rock at this alcove was a bit narrower at the end so that we could access the electrical panel right ahead. But otherwise, on this deck, it was just supposed to be a turning curve, allowing trains to continue going to the left and all the way to the far end, where you can see now that there is no benchwork finished, where a helix was supposed to be. At the time, we were not sure should we build a round or an oval helix. An oval helix will provide a lesser grade, but another option was also crossing the divide between the two walls where you see the door that was the entrance. So on this deck, you would have climbed up to the middle one, but then on the middle one, you might have crossed again and then go around the middle deck and then climb up one more level to the upper deck and then cross the divide again and end up on the outside of this room in the outside staging. And that was the one of the issues because some people were saying, well, how are you going to do this? Because you will need helix to cross 3 decks and not 2. But really, I mean, once you climb the one deck, you would have just went around the layout and then climbed to the upper deck, and the staging would have been on the lowest and the highest deck. Ultimately, the problem was that I started listening to what other people were saying, and I lost my vision for what I wanted to accomplish here. Now that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and more to come.